Well, hello lovely people, welcome to today's video. This one is gonna be a little bit different from the regular tarot picker cards I do, hence why my face is the star of the show today and not the tarot. Because I got inspired over the last couple of days on this subject and I really wanted to talk to somebody about it. So if you're stumbling across this video, I guess that you're wondering about the same things. And that would be today, generally on the topic of tarot and how to ask questions and what the thing is about predictions. Like, does tarot predict, does it not predict, like does it reflect back to us what we're already like thinking about or expecting. This is basically the theme that I have a really long time spent with and wondered, and over the last week something happened that I found extremely interesting that kind of acts as a confirmation of what I was already thinking. So let's get into this maybe with a short story. So like probably most people in the spiritual community, like I started my interest a really long time ago. Like I was in school, I was like in the 10th grade, I think. And it started like firstly with like a little psychological test, like astrology, like whatnot. And basically what every one of us does when we get into spirituality, like you start doing it because you want to somehow predict your future and predict that things are gonna happen the way you want them to happen. Like you basically wanna know that everything's gonna be fine and that you're gonna be fine and everything's gonna be all peachy keen, that type of thing. And I remember even back then, the first time I got an astrological reading, the reading itself was like quite truthful personality wise, but I remember there was a part of it where the astrologer did like basic predictions for me for like the next 10 to 15 years, about the age of 30, which is what I'm almost at right now. And it was interesting because I remember the first two things she predicted, which was basically me moving abroad to Germany at the time, and also like for studying basically, and then changing my degree. This happened. Like everything afterwards didn't happen, which was really interesting. And in such cases, when you get a prediction and it doesn't happen, you start to wonder, okay, was the person wrong? Or like, did I do something wrong for it to not happen? It's weird. So I was thinking the same. And I have had the recurring experience of like, if it comes down to psychological things, they apply, like whether it's gonna be astrology, like transits, whether it's gonna be tarot, everything fine. But once we get into the territory of predictions, then I've had the experience that those predictions like never happen. And maybe it's just the Saturn return at this time speaking to me, like, I don't know, telling me you are a piece of bedsheet. And this is why if let's say that was your highest potential that the readings were talking about, you just didn't achieve it, and that's why it didn't happen. But this, of course, again leaves the door open for thinking, okay, what's the point of me going to find out something about my future if it's not even gonna happen? It's like, okay, this is one possibility out of 1,000, like, you know and I feel like this can be a frustration often with the tarot as well, especially because with tarot, depending on the person you meet, there are some people who say, for instance, tarot can only be valid up to 1 year. Or there are other people I've heard who say, my predictions always come true, but sometimes they happen 20 years later. And basically at that point, it's like, okay, great, so you predicted for me that I'm gonna get married or that I'm gonna have a career like in my 40s. Like, I didn't ask for this when I was, let's say, 21. So, the frustration with the uncertainty and all of it. And one question that I have found myself asking over and over again, because I myself have started for a while to also do tarot pick a card readings, and I find it really fun and I find them generally helpful. Now, there is also a part of this discussion which has to do with the idea of free will, and is it really positive to go to somebody to tell you like about your future in general and to even give you advice like is it moral, is it ethical. This I have not come up with a conclusion to. I guess it is case to case relevant and like specific. One thing I have noticed based on myself, and I'm sure there are plenty other people out there knowing how huge the tarot community is, and that there are channels who make videos like every day, and they have like tens of thousands of whatever subscribers. And it is this question of like, is there a point where this turns into an addiction of like hearing something? And this has been like my personal struggle, let's say, and the thing that I had a sort of a breakthrough moment over the last week or two. So let me maybe get into the story. So one of my favorite things to do is when I am bored or like just as a way to unwind at the end of the day is open some tarot pick a card reading and like listen to something positive. Initially I was listening more to like career stuff, then those got boring, then I got more into listening to relationship videos, in the meaning of like what is your next significant relationship or who you're gonna marry, you know, that type of tarot pick a card, and I found them really fun. And an interesting aspect of them was that, you know, a lot of the times they reflected a specific type of person and characteristics to me. If you watch those type of readings, I'm guessing that you know what I'm talking about. Where, you know, it's not like everything is giving you completely different people. There's like a theme behind it. And one thing I noticed about myself when approaching those readings is how I would, of course, the question generally for the reading would be like, who would be your next relationship or like your next partner or blah 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 future spouse bullshit, you know? But I always in the back of my mind had a specific person I would be thinking about. And this is where it gets interesting, and this is where I also feel like I got a part of the information that I was generally curious about with tarot. And this is that the person I was thinking about is not somebody that I have contact with. Like, it is a person who I have had some contact with in the very distant past, but I have not been aware of for years on end. Like, yes, they are in my thought process, but I, at this point, basically can say I don't know anything about their life, about what they're doing, even about their personality anymore, because people change with time as it goes. And it was really interesting because the tarot, when I would ask and think about that person specifically in the back of my mind, it would give me really weird characteristics. Like, I'm talking about something really specific, not like being, oh, this is an extroverted person or this is an introverted person or like this person, I don't even know, is in the medical field or whatever. I'm talking about specific things, and the couple of specific things that sprung up in my mind was something about the person being an author was the one of them. There was something about which I found extremely interesting about addiction and potential alcohol problems. And there was also something about like, I think it was in the realm of like plastic surgeries and whatnot. And I was just really confused because this, generally speaking, considering the reading for a man in my case that I'm watching, is not necessarily typical. Again, I think there was also something about the LGBTQIA community, which was again like, what the hell? I'm not. I mean, I guess sure it can happen, but it's atypical. And last week, I think it was, just in time for the Saturn return, which loves to bring you back in your place and put you in your place, I randomly, without following this person on anywhere, I saw some information about them, and I like watched a couple of their stuff. Like, it was a really interesting process, really enlightening. And I saw how all of those weird characteristics that the tarot had given me all this time, like over and over again, not like in just one reading and from one person. We are speaking across the board. And I saw how those characteristics are actually, without me being aware, something that this person absolutely has going on in their life. And I was really, at the first moment, I didn't even realize it, but then I sat down and started thinking, and I was just like, holy crap, this is amazing. So just me, by merely thinking about that person, the tarot reflected back to me information that I didn't have. It's not like I was looking out for it for like confirmation or such, because I wasn't. I didn't know any of those things. But the tarot somehow, let's say, picked up on my energy and what I was asking about in the back of my mind, that person in specific, and it reflected it back to me. And I was just like so stumped, and I'm still a bit excited about it. That's why I also decided to do this video, because maybe somebody out there has made the same discovery. And it was really eye-opening, because I have always wondered on this topic. I have been doing readings for other people, let's say about a year now. And generally, always when I do readings, I advise people to not just ask about simple predictions, I guess, because I don't think they are the most helpful for your life, but more so to focus on advice on how to handle a certain energy, how to move in a certain direction without being attached to the outcome. And I have always wondered, because I know tarot readers out there who are amazing at predictions. For instance, one of the guys that I really like watching on YouTube, it's Aphrodite. And he is amazing. He has predicted quite a lot of things. So it's not like you can over the board say predictions isn't something you can do. Yes, maybe they're kind of hit and miss. Maybe they take something more like, I don't know, psychic abilities, or like maybe only certain people um are granted the ability to do them. Like, I don't know. I have also in the past had really specific predictions that have come true. So I am not, again, I am not knocking out uh, the possibility of predictive tarot and predictive astrology being possible. It is possible. Again, I guess what I'm getting at, if you are also one of those people who, for some reason of comfort, goes to such sciences, let's say, with the idea of receiving a certain specific message to make you feel better, especially if it is something like in my case, where I have watched, let's say, a gazillion readings um, about love, with specifically thinking about a person in my head. Keep in mind that not necessarily, especially when it comes to general tarot pick a card readings, but even with a specific where you go to a person to read only for you, keep your mind open to the huge possibility that the tarot is only reflecting your current energy. It's not necessarily predicting your future. That's why I also, when I do readings for people, in the last couple of months, it's been really fun, because at the office where I work, the people found out that I do tarot. So they would ask every now and again for like a short tarot, like one card reading or something. And I don't make them like ask me a specific question, because after all, those things can be personal. Like, you don't want your colleagues to know your stuff. It's not like asking some random person on the internet who doesn't know you. That's completely different. But when the person knows you, it gets a little bit tricky. So of course, when you don't ask a question, I can only give you like a more general interpretation of the card. But the interesting thing about it, and what I would generally advise everybody to do, the question and the way you formulate the question to the tarot is probably the most important thing. Because even if you are not an experienced tarot reader, you can pull something for yourself and go on the internet and read 20 different descriptions and you are gonna find a way to interpret it somehow. Yes, it might not be the best, but you can do it. It's not rocket science. But when you don't ask the specific question, or like you think you are asking something, but again, like with me, in the back of your mind, you have something else, then this is the point where those differences can occur. And like, I'm not saying that's bad, but it can make you feel sucky at the end of the day, because if you are watching tarot to make yourself feel better about a certain subject in your life, and then you are having the experience over and over again that that thing isn't happening, then of course you're gonna start doubting yourself, like I did in the past. For instance, oh, I failed this, like this prediction was meant to happen, but I failed it because I didn't do the work on my part. So this has gotten a little bit ranty. I hope that somebody out there finds it helpful and interesting and leads to some thoughts on your side as well. But I feel like what I'm getting at the end of the day is, first things first. If you are one of those people like me who watches tarot readings either for fun, as like a pastime activity to just lift up your spirits a little bit, like if there is some kind of escapist tendencies, and we all have those, it's not something to be ashamed of, it's just something you need to keep in the back of your mind and try to control more or less. If you are that type of person, like really sit down with it and try to examine it, see where it comes up from, and try to fix it somehow. Because tarot, like every other mm, thing out there that's made to feel us, to make us feel better, can be an addiction, and that's not fun. This is the one side of it, like the negative addiction-y type of thing. Again, when you are using those services, whether on YouTube with general pick card readings or with tarot readers one-on-one, be very clear on what you exactly want to know. Even if it is something that feels a little bit shameful, I know that I've been there, again, especially in the love department, like there is something so icky about opening yourself up to somebody in that way and asking something that's on your heart, like about another person specifically. Like it feels really energy rapey to me. I don't know how to put it in another way. Like it feels wrong, I guess. And if this is something that you relate to, again, double check your motivations and the thoughts and the feelings at the back of your mind. Like, what is it really that I'm asking for? What kind of result I am hoping to get out of this tarot reading? Because again, you, like me, might be one of those people who just hear what they want to hear. Like, I don't know, maybe some of us have extremely potent energy or something, which makes the tarot or the other person pull out what we kind of want to hear. Either way, whatever the explanation may be, it is a factor. So, again, to reiterate for 100th time, be very clear on the question you want to ask. Preferably make it not a prediction question, but make it a general advice and guidance question on handling the energies in your life. Yeah. Actually, something else that I also forgot to mention, and I still don't have enough data points to really comment on this. So if you have any experience, go ahead and leave a comment. But this is again the general idea of fate versus what you should do on your own. Like coming back from the astrology department, I generally believe that there are things out there that you can't change no matter what you do. Like there are a couple of things, at least in your life, that are set in stone and that are gonna happen. Whether I'm right or that on that or not, God bless. Like no idea. But this is what generally I think. But regarding the things that you can change, now this is where the tricky part comes, because sometimes I've also had experience with the tarot that I feel like, and I don't know again if this is the case for everybody or just for specific people, and maybe I'm one of those people. I feel like that sometimes you just shouldn't know. And that's where also deviations can come into, and like differences between your reality and what somebody told you. Let's say if we disregard the idea of somebody giving you the highest possible path and you fucking it up, and that's why you didn't get the result. If we don't pay attention to that for a while, I also think that there is something about maybe most people, maybe everybody, maybe just some of us, where you are just seriously not meant to know. Or also, the message here could be that in your life, in your specific life, again, maybe not for everybody, you are supposed to be the person who says what's gonna happen, not somebody else. When you ask somebody else, it doesn't happen. You just have to learn the lesson and do it yourself. So, this is the other thing I have been wondering about. If you have had similar experience, let me know, because I feel like it sort of makes sense, and even it's kind of contradictory and like, yeah, to say, but I even watched some kind of um tarot pick a card reading. I think it was by Shadowplay Tarot. She's really cute. I like her. But there was even there some kind of message of like, you are not meant to know. Like you just have to do it yourself. Basically, it's not, don't ask me questions. Just go and do it yourself. So I generally think that at least with some of us, part of your, let's say, karma in this life is not waiting for the security of something telling you that you can do something or telling you that something can happen for you, but just going out there and doing it, you know? I hope this makes sense. I hope this whole video is not just me rambling on and on. I hope it made some sense.